Hello, and welcome to Yogahub podcast, where we bring you conversations with some of the world's leading yoga and movement educators. In this episode, I'm chatting to Chris Chavez. Chris is an absolute legend who actually began his yoga practice 30 years ago when he was a traveling musician in Dublin. And since then, it's taken him all around the world, teaching in lots of different studios, running different teacher trainings, and he eventually settled in Istanbul, where he runs some super successful and popular yoga studios. Chris is coming to Yogahub Camden Street the weekend of the 11th to 13th of October for a series of workshops, which promise to be a lot of fun. You can find a little bit more information at yogahub.ie/workshops. And here's my conversation with Chris. Thank you very much for listening. Okay, so Chris, welcome. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to come on for this conversation. It's an honor to get the chance to talk to you. First and foremost, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Actually, it's a beautiful sunny day here in Istanbul. So after this, I'll head to the seaside for a little practice, hang out. It's nice energy here today. It's starting to cool down now, so I'm very happy about that. Yeah.
Great. And so to begin, I think it'd be nice because I'm sure this is going to be a very interesting and entertaining story. For anybody who's not familiar with you at this moment in time, if you wouldn't mind taking a few moments to tell us a little bit about your life, how you got into yoga, where that's all led you to, and how you've kind of got to where you are today.
Yeah, actually, I started my yoga journey in Dublin. I was traveling as a musician. I was living in London at the time. I'm originally from New Mexico in the US, but I had moved to London to write songs. And during my stay there, I visited Dublin. And I connected with a percussionist there. His name is Rohan, also a teacher at the hub. And, actually I was staying with him. He was really interesting. I didn't know he was doing yoga and I didn't know anything about yoga. But he said, hey, you can stay with me, but every day for like 2 hours, you have to leave. And I was just like, okay. It was like, what is this guy doing for 2 hours? And then later he shared with me, he's like, I'm actually practicing yoga. He showed me these books. And then he said, actually, you look like a yogi. You should practice yoga. So he showed me like 5 poses. I think it was like Utkatasana and Cobra pose and probably Uddiyana Bandha. I can't remember, and a couple of other poses. And I was like, wow, this yoga thing's pretty easy. Like, I think I've got it, And I was touring around the world. So I just had like a little, I don't know if you remember the old days, the Indian rugs that everybody, Ashtanga rugs. So I carried one of those around with me everywhere. I would just throw it on the ground wherever I was. And I would do those 5 poses. And over a period of time, I was actually living in Australia for a little while, also playing music. And at a festival that I was playing there, somebody said, I'm also doing yoga. Should we practice together? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And she started doing back bends and inversions. I was like, that's not yoga. It's like yoga's these 5 poses, So after a period of time, I moved to LA and I lived right across from a yoga studio. And I spent pretty much all day there. And then I would go home and I would practice more at home. And then slowly I started just inviting people to my house to practice with me. After 2 people came, then I said, okay, I need a bigger place to practice and to teach. But I didn't actually consider myself a teacher. I just was sharing what I really liked. It made me feel good. The energy after I practiced, my body felt good. My mind felt good. And also I just loved sharing with people. It was really nice to see people get turned on by it. And I had 0 skills other than the fact that I just loved to practice. And so slowly I just started inviting more and more people. The yoga studio had a little space in the garden in the back, and they were renting that out to me. And I kind of built it from there. And at a certain point, I thought, well, I think I need a bigger house, So we rented an apartment and it had a big living room, kind of like the one that I live in here now. And we had no furniture, absolutely 0 furniture. And it was just all yoga space, and people would come. I just invite people, and I started like probably a Monday night or something, and 6 people came, and I said, okay, I need another night. So open another night. 6 people came. I said, oh, this is getting crazy. Let's open a morning thing, and it kind of built like that. And then at a certain point, I just kind of outgrew my home and started to teach at yoga studios in Los Angeles. But before that, nobody would hire me. That's actually why I skipped a small important part there, is that when I started teaching yoga, I did my very first training. I don't remember when it was, probably like 1999 or 98 or something around there. And after I finished my training, I was calling yoga studios and I say, hey, like, it's me. Like, I want to teach. And they were like, okay, well, if you can bring like 40 people at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're hired. And I was like, well, I'm coming for your people, actually, So that's why I started teaching in my home. And after a while, after I grew my business my studio inside of my home, then I had really nice connections with studios, and I could pretty much teach where I wanted to. And around that time, through music, I started to travel a little bit to other cities. And one of the things that I would do is I would kind of just call a studio wherever I was going. And I would say, hey, I'm a yoga teacher in Los Angeles. Would you mind if I just taught a free class? And I didn't expect anything from anyone. I just wanted to share and kind of give the energy. So most cities that I approached, they were really open to it. And one of the ones that kind of I stayed with for a long time was in Canada. There's a studio there called Y Yoga. I don't know if you knew it, but Terry McBride is the CEO of Y Yoga, but he's also the CEO of a record company who I was working with. And we kind of had a connection. I said, hey, let me come up. I just want to teach some classes. And from there, they asked me, okay, can you do some workshops? Yeah, I can do some workshops. And then from there, can you do a teacher training? Yeah, I could do a teacher training. And similarly to the studios that I own now in Istanbul, that's how I came here as well. I was just visiting. I used to be married to a Turkish woman. And so we would come back once a year. And every time I came, I just called the studio and say, hey, I'm going to be in town. Can I teach a class, And even if it's, any time of the day, it doesn't matter. Like I'll bring 5 friends or whatever. But I just wanted to give the energy away. And I started working with them, also workshops, then trainings, etc. And it kind of built from there. And then there was a period where, we were, my ex-wife and myself, we were just pretty much traveling the world nonstop doing teacher trainings in different countries. We would be in a different country probably every 7 days or something like that. And just going from country to country doing modules. And at a certain point I thought like, wow, this is intense. Like I think I did it for 5 years. And I remember a few times falling asleep, standing up in the elevator. And I was like, okay, like I think something's got to change, and so I bought the yoga studios here in Istanbul because I was already coming here a lot. I built a pretty nice community, and I thought like, okay, like I already have roots, so let's grow the tree. So that's kind of where I am now. So yeah,
very organic journey by the sounds of it. Things just unfolding for you. I have a kind of a 2-part question for you. So, what kind of music were you making when you were in Dublin and you met Rohan and you started practicing? And I'm assuming you're probably still making music in some shape or form. And do you feel like through your practice, your music has evolved in a certain way?
Wow, that's an awesome question. Yeah. So when I met Rohan, I actually, one of my undergraduate degrees is in music, which is percussion performance. So, but I moved to England because I wanted to write music, and I didn't know how to write music. So I bought a guitar and a one-way ticket with very little money, and I moved to London. And I lived in a squat, actually. So I met these people. They were like, as long as you're an artist and you're creating, you can live here. And it was shit, but it was like, there was holes in the windows. There was no hot water. Everybody's stealing your food, like but living off of nothing really. But when I was in Dublin, I really connected with Rohan because he's a pretty awesome musician and percussionist, and so I was mainly doing a lot of percussive things, and the guitar is very basic open tuning stuff. And I was really listening to some blues and stuff like that. But, looking back now, I actually didn't have any skills. And I kind of thought like, my early days in yoga was the same. I thought like, well, if I train myself, like then I'm going to learn better. Like it's my thing, But what you learned later is that when you have skills, you move faster. So that took me a very, very long time to learn. So I was doing kind of singer-songwriter stuff, kind of open tuning things. And there was a period when I lived in Los Angeles where I was working with a record company. I was working with a publisher, I had a manager and all that kind of thing. But I felt stuck because my creativity was very limited and I didn't have the skills of writing melodies. And, I didn't know song structure very well other than what I had heard and tried to kind of recreate those kind of things. So I took a break. I just thought like I need a break because I need to find this energy. And it took it took many years. There was a lot of things going on during that time as well. The publishing, for example, I was doing a lot of yoga. I was vegan at the time. I was super disciplined. But I was a little bit hardcore, so the publisher asked me one day, she said, hey, what do you do for fun? And I said, what do you mean? I practice yoga like 7 hours a day. She's like, okay, that's cool. But like, what do you do for fun? Do you go out and have a beer with your friends? I said, no, I don't drink alcohol. Do you go to the coffee shop and ride? I was like, I don't drink caffeine. So I wasn't drinking alcohol, caffeine, sugar, dairy products, meat products for 14 years. And she said, I really admire your discipline, but your spirit is suffering. You're suffocating. And that hit me like a rock. And I was like, fuck, she's so right, So that day I went and bought a 6-pack of beer and a skateboard. And I just said, okay, I got to open myself a little bit. And I talked to all the people I was working with music. And I said, I just need a little break. And what happened is that break turned into probably 7 or 8, 9 years or something. And during the pandemic, actually, just before the pandemic, I just started picking up my guitar and writing songs. And Terry just messaged me one day, and, he's like, hey, how's it going? You want to have a chat sometime? And are you still writing music? And I said, actually, I just started writing music again. And so we got on a call and, maybe about 6 months later, I signed a record contract with them. So this past year, we've been releasing singles. Actually, October 8th, I believe, is a new single and an EP coming out. And the following month will be another EP. So it's been pretty good. Going back to your question, when I was stuck, one of the things that I felt is that when I was teaching yoga, I had this kind of very fluid, way of expressing myself, let's say. And probably because I never considered myself a yoga teacher, I was just sharing. And the sharing just came through in a very, very easy way. And I always felt like I want my music to be like that. I don't want to have to think about what I'm writing. I want it just to come. But it wasn't coming. I was thinking so much. And every time I would start thinking, the writing would stop. And when I kind of just took that break and was just more focusing on my teaching of yoga, part of the writing came to me is like, when I'm teaching a class, I'm kind of sharing a message, like I'm sharing something from my day in a very, normal way. So I started to say, well, let me kind of just talk through my songs. What is my message in my songs? What is the teaching that I want to give through the song? And that's kind of when it opened up, because it was not, it didn't have to be rhyming. It didn't have to be anything. It was just me sharing something. And that started to evolve much faster, and my songwriting started to pick up a lot. And through that, I started to realize, wow, I actually have a lot of things, I don't know if I would call my songs spiritual, other than they're part of a spiritual journey that I've been through. And I'm trying to just share the shit that I went through when times were hard and how I got through it, and stuff like that. So I guess if you listen to my songs, it's probably like a therapy session or something with music. I don't know. But I enjoy writing, and it feels like a very natural part of me. And I go through periods sometimes, I'm writing a lot, and then sometimes I'm not, playing so much music and I'm teaching a lot. And I always feel like I could be doing more of each, I always feel like, man, it just like there's not enough me's and times in the day to get it all done to the level that I would like to do it, but I have fun with it, and I just keep reminding myself, hey, just relax and just enjoy it, and it'll be okay. So yeah.
Well, congratulations on the release of the music, and kind of coincides with when you're going to be with us. So maybe we'll try and put together a little launch party or something. Get Rohan in. You guys can jam again, maybe.
A little bit of jamming, yeah.
And a kind of a follow-up question, which I'm sure will have a lot of similarities to your process with music. But I'm always really interested in people who have been practicing yoga for, a relatively long time, but also I guess a relatively short time in the grand scheme of things as well. But what was it that first drew you in? And I'm sure your practice has evolved quite a lot over the years. And with that evolution, has the thing that drew you in originally, is that kind of still there, or is what draws you back to the practice now, has that shifted in some way?
Actually, that's a great question. I think it's the word that came to my mind is stillness. When I'm writing music or I'm practicing yoga, my mind, it's not always still, of course, but there's you tap into this kind of creative part of your brain and things just get quiet. And that, for me, I loved it. The very first time I ever practiced yoga, probably just through the breath work or something like that, the concentration of the posture or something, I felt like clean, like, I don't know, like if my body was a candle, I just felt like bright, and I remembered that feeling, and I still connect to it. My practices are not always like, super long these days or super intense. But I use them more for generating stillness and kind of just getting my mind quiet a little bit and feeding my soul. I had periods in my life where I kind of drifted away from the practice, and then I'd feel like, wow, something's missing. I'm not feeling so good. And then I would start the practice, and it might be something as simple as the discipline, the discipline of calling yourself back to something. You kind of wake yourself up a little bit, and you're like, oh yeah, here I am. I'm here again, and I, do a lot of visualization things. And, from time to time, in my practices, I say, hey, do I still have that connection? Am I still connected to this feeling, and, sometimes I'm so stressed out that I can't, and then I say, hey, okay, you need to spend a little bit more time, practicing or something. But I feel it in my body as well. When I have periods of time where I'm not practicing a lot, my joints start to hurt, I dislocated my shoulder when I was like 19 or something and had surgery. And so every so often, and I fucked it up many times. Oh, sorry. Many times since then, but when I'm not regularly moving my body, I feel it, and when I start to move, it's almost like my body says, hey, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I do a lot of, I try to do a lot of self work. I journal every day. I try to meditate every day. I'm trying to kind of keep those kind of self-care practices active in my life. And yoga is definitely one of them. And yeah, my practice has definitely transformed over the years. I still like an intense, fiery practice, and also to teach. When I'm teaching, I want to inspire people. I want them to have fun. But I like to also challenge everybody, because I think in the challenge, people grow. We all grow when we're challenged. But in that challenge, I want it to be fun. I want people to enjoy themselves, to laugh and just have a good time and say, wow, that was good. I pushed my body, but also I had a really good time. So,
What is it about visualization that you find so useful?
The realizations?
No, visualization.
Visualizations. I think internally, it feels, without being cliche, it feels like being able to see spirit in yourself, and I visualize just like an energy and a light in myself. And when I close my eyes, I want to feel that I can connect to that. And we all have probably different variations of those things, but I feel like it calms me. It gives me power. In hard times, it's literally, for lack of a better way to say it, the guiding light. In the hardest times, I can close my eyes and I just say, like, this light, like, guide me, protect me, help me, nurture me, whatever I need. And so, yeah, it's been, I want to make sure that I keep it strong and I keep connected to it. And, whenever I'm doing things, I try to, simply say, hey, how can I bring that out of myself and share it with other people in some simple way, so, and, when I'm teaching, I want other people to connect to that and themselves as well. So a lot of times when we're doing like Shavasana, or maybe it's a meditation or something, I'm trying to use my words to guide the student to that place, but within themselves. I want them to have that experience. And once you have that experience, it, and then it's not up to me to do any work for them anymore. It's like, okay, now it's yours. Here you go. So, yeah, but visualization is very powerful. Also, I do a lot of affirmations and self-healing affirmations and stuff like that. I find that very useful as well. Usually in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning when I wake up, and all the stuff's hitting my mind and heavy, and it's like, hey, just relax. You're okay. You're safe. You're secure. Things like that. So.
And you spoke a little about your disciplined years, let's call it, with the no alcohol, no caffeine, no animal products, no sugar. And you are, I guess, on the other side of that now.
Yeah, I do it all, man.
And is that kind of...
This is just water.
Is that kind of lifestyle, even though you're on the other side of it, is it something that you would like recommend? Or do you think that kind of...
sorry to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
It has its purpose, but I think you have to know why you're doing it. You have to know. I didn't, even then, I didn't really know why I was doing it. When I became vegetarian, I just was poor and I didn't have money to buy meat. And then at a certain point, it was like, I can call myself a vegetarian, and then that's okay. And then it became an identity. And it was like, this is who I am. And I started to be quite extreme with it. But I didn't really know why I was doing it. And then, I started to do, I did some fasting as well. In Ramadan, in Muslim culture, they do I think it's 30-day fasting. And I had a friend, he was doing it. And I said, okay, I'll do that with you. And so, I did it. And then I was like, well, I'm going to try 2 more months. So I think I did 3 months. And then I was like, I wonder if I can do like a death fast, So I went to the desert in New Mexico. I flew, I took 1 jug of water and some tortillas. And I didn't eat or drink water for like 3 days, or like 3.5 days. And, there's a point where I realized, like, okay, there's like a line. And on this side is sanity, and on this side is insane, And I was like, I think I just stepped over that line. And there was, and then, but I do remember I took my first drinks of water and ate bread. And I was so grateful. I was so appreciative. Like, the world was beautiful. Before that, I was crying. I was like, I just was waiting for the sun to go down. But after that, I asked myself that question. I said, why are you doing this? And mainly I wanted to know how strong I was, and I started to look at discipline as a self-test. But, there's really no end to it. There's no end. I went from during the vegan, then it was like organic vegan, then it was like fair trade organic, blah, blah, blah. And, and you can get so disciplined that you lose sight of the purpose of what is bringing, all disciplines, even in yoga, it should cultivate something in you that is making your life better, not more restricted and, and heavier. if it doesn't bring you more joy, more freedom, then fuck it, let it go, like do something else. But with everything, whether it be yoga or whether it be, I don't know, even all the disciplines of yoga or whatever you want to do, make sure that it's serving your life in some way and elevating you and actually feeding your spirit, going back to that thing. If it's not feeding your spirit, then let it go, it's find something else or drink a beer.
And I was just saying, so you're now based in Istanbul, and I am lucky enough to actually have quite a lot of Turkish friends. There's a strong Turkish community in Dublin.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure we're going to be getting quite a few coming along to the weekend with you. And I was in Turkey a few years ago, but we didn't actually make it to Istanbul. But from what I hear, Istanbul is kind of insane. And so for someone who, I guess, works in the wellness space in a busy city like Istanbul, how do you find that? And how do you find yoga as a practice fits in to such a sprawling, chaotic city?
Yeah. Well, it's a massive city. I don't know, what is it, like 20 million people, 18 to 20 million people. And so you can be anywhere. I'm very lucky because I live by the seaside. I live across from a park. So I have a sense of space, even though, I'm living in a building and there's people all around me. You walk out on the street and you will always be surrounded by thousands of people. So even though you're so close with people are very still so far apart from each other, in the sense of that, like, what I find why people come the most to the yoga studio is because they want connection. They actually seek community. And the thing that people suffer from most in a busy city like this is loneliness. You can have people all around you, but you're not connecting with anyone, because you have to it's an interesting thing, because when you move through a city like this, you kind of have to have your guard up a little bit, because energy is coming at you from all directions, whether you're driving or you're walking. Things are moving at you from all directions all the time, whether it be cars, people, sounds, everything. So you put up your defenses a little bit. So in that way, you're closing yourself off for protection, but then you close yourself off to everything else as well. And so what I find is people come to the studio and they will stay there all day. Like, they hang out there all day, so, which is great. I like that. But it also shows you that they're craving connection with other human beings, just to be able to talk. They come to a yoga class, they just like to be with the teacher, interacted with, things like that. And I think it feeds people's, also that's the other thing in our generation, in our time, this is a general, by the way, is that people used to go to things like churches and mosques and things like that for community. This is where they gathered, and modern generation, that's kind of fading away a little bit. So that need for community, where do you find it? And I think yoga studios and places like that, where people can gather and connect and sweat together and laugh together, I think it feeds their spirit, And if I go to the studio right now, I'm sure there's somebody who took a class early this morning and is still there, and they'll probably be there in the afternoon and the evening. So, but it's cool. I'm glad that we have a space where people can feel at home like that, because it's kind of like their second home. So as much as I can, I try to feed that spirit. Yeah.
And is there anything that you consciously do to create that kind of space? Because I've heard that even just booking into a class at your studios can be, I'm not sure if you heard about the kind of chaos of people trying to buy Oasis tickets, like the Oasis reunion, and they're doing some gigs in Croke Park in Dublin, and apparently to get a ticket was like you were 2 billion in the queue or something like that on Ticketmaster. And I've heard it's not that dissimilar when it comes to trying to get into some of your classes. So what do you feel a yoga studio can do in that kind of environment to create the sense of community? Like, is it as simple as just, uh, interpersonal interaction, so like that, you know, the teachers are friendly, the staff is friendly, or is there something more specific that you feel like a studio could do to foster that sense of community?
Yeah, we do, as part of our structure in our system, we have names on all mats. You know, that's something I try to discipline the teachers to do, because when the students come and the teacher and other students can interact to them by their name, then they start to feel connected to the space. That's one of the things. In all of our studios, we have some areas where people can sit and hang out, you know, whether it's outside or inside. But we try to generate that kind of vibe in the studio, because it's nice energy, and it's, you know, we want people to feel comfortable coming and hanging out. I've been to studios around the world, and you've probably seen some as well, is that you go take your class, you finish a class, and everybody's gone, you know. And, you know, I kind of learned this actually from my studio in Los Angeles when I used to practice in my home. My ex-wife used to be pissed off because she's like, they're hanging out here all night long. Get rid of them, you know? So there was a cafe really close to our house. So after class, we just say, hey, let's go grab a coffee after class. So that became the go-to thing, is that it was just expected. After class, the whole group is going down there and we're going to hang out and, you know, drink coffee and just have a chat. So the class extended into another 2 hours. But it's very similar like that here now. And I spend a lot of time at the studio just kind of hanging out and connecting with people. And I walk around, I make sure everybody's feeling good. You know, I say, hey, how's it going? You need anything? You know, you guys good? You happy? And things like that. And also just being generous of spirit, you know. I meet so many people and I just invite them to come to yoga. Just say, hey, you know, be my guest. You know, I informed the staff and I said, hey, these guys are my guests, you know, give them 5 classes or whatever it is. But I want people to experience it, and I want them to feel that it's not, this kind of thing that is out of their reach, or, you know, part of a culture that they need to be kind of, you know, freaked out about. But yeah, I try to make everybody feel welcome, and the spaces are also designed to feel welcoming. All of our spaces feel cozy when you walk in, and yeah. We have plants. Oh, I have so many. I see plants behind you.
Yeah.
I love plants. We have bamboo garden. But I grow a lot of chili peppers. I'm gardening a lot. So I have hundreds of chili plants at the studio. So yeah.
Very nice. There was something I found from teaching online during COVID. Just the simplest way to make a space a little bit more yogic, a better word. Get a plant in the background.
Put a plant after the interview. We'll move them back. That one actually goes there. That one I couldn't move it over, so I was like, "Fuck, I'll bring that one over here." Yeah,
but I find it's such an interesting thing, because, I mean, like there's no such thing as just a yoga. It's such a diverse thing that means so many different things, so many different people. But in some ways, you can look at yoga as being a very individual practice. But I do think in this day and age, one of the biggest benefits we get, and sometimes the overlooked benefit that we get, is that community. And I think particularly as people get like a little bit older, it gets harder to make friends. And so it's such a lovely thing. Like, I think so many of us come either out of curiosity or just self-improvement or whatever. And I think for a lot of people, although I'm sure that is a continuous motivation, sometimes it's just being around nice people is in and of itself, that's enough, even if you don't actually do that much on your mat.
I have a woman, she comes to my class. She must be like close to 80 or something. And, you know, she comes to first of all, she doesn't speak English, right? So, I would say she's probably pretty new to yoga. Like, she's been coming 6 months, but she comes to my most advanced classes. And one day I just asked her, like, you know, why do you come to my class? You can't understand. I'm speaking my Turkish is also not very good, by the way. And she said, she lost her husband last year. And she said, I just don't want to be at home. And I feel really good here. And I like your energy. So when she's in my class, so she'll do like a couple of sun salutations, and then she'll just sit down and she'll just watch. I said, are you okay? I'm okay. I'm okay. You just teach. I'm okay. You just teach. And I just check in with her, and she's just happy to be there. And she said, like, don't worry about me. She's like, I just want to be in the space. I said, okay, this is your space. You enjoy. But I like that. I feel, even though you can't communicate, the energy is, you're giving out energy, and the people around you are giving out energy in a way that somebody's feeding off of it. So that's a real thing. She's feeding from something that is in the space and in the community and in the air. And it's helping her, it's nurturing her. She doesn't have to do a handstand. She doesn't have to do lotus. She doesn't have to even meditate. She just has to be in the space, connected to it. And it's healing. And I think that's amazing. That's really amazing. And so, sometimes we're aware of it and conscious of it, and sometimes we're not. And I think it's very, very powerful. And I've had times when I've been going through tough shit or something, and I go to a yoga class and I'm just a student, and I look around and I say, thank God I have this, and I never see it as mine. I just see it as like, I'm part of this, and thank God, because right now this is doing me good. And it's feeding me and it's nurturing me. So yeah, we're very blessed to have these things, these communities that we all have. So it's awesome.
It's a beautiful story about the lady who lost her husband, and during lockdown actually did a course on the science of happiness. It was like a free course online, and it was cool. And one of the things that always kind of stuck with me is they were saying that one of the things, so it sort of has an outweighed impact on our happiness, in the sense that it's so small, but it can make such a big, it can have such a big impact. And it's small, pleasant interactions with strangers is, yeah. So apparently just like a nice word with the person who serves you your coffee, or a smile with someone at a yoga studio, whatever it might be. Apparently these small interactions can have a huge impact on how we feel. And yeah, I think it's a real credit to you as a person to be able to try and foster that at a yoga studio. When I'm sure in some ways it'd be easier just to kind of take this approach of just like, get them in, get them out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a real credit to you that you're able to create that space for people.
Thank you. And I'm always checking in as well, just to ask myself, am I doing a good job at it? Is what can I do better? Actually, right now I'm also contemplating, how can I create more community? And so we do these really, massive community events that are just free for people to come to, in case they can't get to a yoga studio, they can't afford it. It's like, okay, we'll bring some free yoga to you. So I like doing that kind of thing. And I'm doing one tomorrow night, actually. So and there's a few hundred people coming, and I think in those instances it just shows you like, hey, it can be in a yoga studio, but it can also be anywhere. Just give the vibes out. The vibes will always come back to you. You don't have to worry about that. The energy will come back. It'll serve your business in the long run in some way, some form, but you don't have to have direct, immediate financial benefit right here today. Like, just get it out, let it be, serve people, make their spirits happy, and it's going to be good. So yeah.
So I'm just a little bit conscious of your time, because I know you're a busy man. So the final thing would be, or that I'll ask you, is you're obviously with us in a few weeks for a weekend of workshops, which we're super excited about. So if you maybe want to give people a little sneak peek as to what they might be able to expect if they're able to come along.
Yeah. So Friday is going to be a full spectrum practice, all levels. All the classes are going to be all levels. So when I'm teaching, teachers can come. People who have very little experience in yoga can come. I teach everything in stages. So if something becomes too challenging, I'll say, okay, the stage one, stay here. But, maybe you're a teacher and you want to explore different parts of the practice. Stage 3, stage 4, stage 5. I can continue to build it to make sure. I like to make sure that everybody has something to work on and everybody is challenged. But the first night, what we do is we introduce like gateway poses. So poses that we're going to build sequences off for the next couple of days. So, the basics like handstand inversions, arm balances. And then on Saturday morning, arm balance inversions, we'll kind of develop those into some fun and fun sequences. I was going to say challenging, but not always challenging. In the afternoon on Saturday, I like to teach a restorative. So more of a grounding practice. All of the practices will have some pranayama meditation, but the afternoon practice will go a little bit deeper and do some more pranayama, traditional pranayama sequences, some digital pranayama and stuff like that. And then on Sunday, backbends, some deep fun backbends, also with some pranayama meditation. So mainly I want people to come and leave just feeling, if they get some great cool poses that they say, wow, I've never been able to do this before, or maybe a teacher's looking to teach a new sequence. Oh, this is kick-ass. I'm going to bring this into my class. That's awesome. But ultimately what I want people to leave with was just a really good feeling in their hearts and their spirits, just kind of like, yeah, I feel good in myself and I had a good time. So that's what my main focus is. So yeah, we'll have fun, sweat, laugh, maybe cry. We don't know.
We're delighted that we're going to be able to host you, and yeah, maybe we'll get a little album or EP launch party in there at some point as well. But listen,
Also,
Chris, thank you.
if your followers, if they want to at any point DM me and say, hey, I'm working on this, So the point is Asana Lab. So we're going to break down some poses and kind of show some key elements for specific poses. But if somebody's working on something in their practice and they say, hey, I would like some help with that, absolutely, just DM me and I will do my best to include it. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Chris. I really
Awesome,
appreciate
my brother.
it. It was lovely getting the chance to connect and talk with you. And yeah, we're super excited to be having you over in a few weeks. But you enjoy the rest of your day.
Awesome,
and
brother.
yeah, we'll be seeing you very soon.
Thanks, brother. Take care. Thanks. See ya.